All right, Nicole, this one's for you. So in the bisexuality panel yesterday, you mentioned that there are now more women of color queer characters on TV than like white queer characters on TV, right?
I didn't mention that.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't
but
disagree with that,
right.
but I don't actually have the stats on it, so I don't want to say that was my comment.
Sure, okay, so, but to stay with that, so I was thinking at the time, this is kind of problematic though, because does it suggest that now TV or movies or whatever are trying to do multiple birds with one stone, where they're like, oh, now we have a queer character who's black, who's in a wheelchair, right? And how do we counter this attempt to stack multiple forms of diversity within a single character?
I think that's a great question. I would say that I think de-tokenizing all of it is the only way to do that. To say like we don't want the token person of color, we don't want the token queer person, we don't want the token, or the, X amount of women or whatever it is. And I'm talking about in front of camera and behind camera, right? I think that's the only way to do it, is start looking at people as people versus like what they can bring in terms of their like diversity card. So that we're not thinking about it in terms of like, okay, have we filled all of our boxes and how can we do this with even fewer people? I think the root of the issue is the fact that people are tokenized. So I think unless we are talking about it in that terms regularly and calling that out, then it's not going to change. Yeah.
Cool.
Mandahla, you just said that you still had so much more to say on your panel. What were some of the things that you wanted to talk about?
It was about mental health, and the question was, what is like. I actually can't remember the question, but it was related to mental health. How people reach out to you. Mm-hmm. So I've been reached out to by a number of people, but one person in particular. This is a trigger warning. And she heard me speak about my own vulnerable stories. So how I had tried to take my own life, and it ended up saving her life, which to me is, if this platform is something that I can be on that can save just one life, then I'm doing the right job. Unfortunately, Tessa did pass away, not by her own hand, but it was because that she ended up having a heart defect. So the wonderful thing that I can take from that is that she could have gone with darkness and sadness in her heart, but what I ended up doing by speaking my truth is actually allowing her to go ask for help, let her, family and friends know that she needed help, and she actually got that help. She met someone in care and ended up marrying them and moving to Paris, and had this beautiful just 6 months of new life where she had light and love in her heart. And unfortunately she did leave, but she left with that and love. And so this platform that I find myself on is wonderful for that reason. I can just even one life is
yeah. Well, I think more are being held, which is really things.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to say more.
Question?
You also, in the LGBTQ panel just now, you said you wanted to talk more about upcoming projects, but I didn't feel like we got a lot of time for that.
I know. We didn't even get to give our social media handles. I was like, what?
So please, go ahead. I would love to hear more.
Sure. Do you want to go first?
Well, let's talk about Passage. So we're both in Passage, so we can talk about that.
Sure.
So
you're a bigger part in Passage, so why don't you talk about it?
I play Agent Diana Atwell, Kayla's agent, the tech to Shannon Lee Reeve, who plays Ali Prater. She's the TAC, and it's a sci-fi?
It's sci-fi.
It's sci-fi. It's definitely sci-fi. And it's kind of, without giving, I can't. It's going to be pretty. I'm very excited about it. I did spend a day in the graveyard running around, which was a lot of fun, with guns and everything. My other project is BIFL, B-I-F-L. I won't tell you what that stands for. Does it stand for anything we don't know? We'll find out. I play Sarah, they, them, their, ace lesbian. It's a lot about representation. It's a ensemble cast, so there are 6 of us. Each of us have, our own stories to tell. So that one's really exciting as well. Forever Not Maybe will be coming out next year. That's actually, it was originally La Douleur Exquise. It was a web series that we ended up shot the first episode in December 2015, which was a while ago, but that is the actual reason for me moving to LA in the first place, and we were able to actually get the funds to turn it into a feature film. So now called Forever Not Maybe, because good luck pronouncing La Douleur Exquise. And so that one will be coming out next year as well. After you, because I need to think about what else is coming out.
Yeah, I was like, I'm trying to go through what's happening in my life.
Crazy B-words, Crazy Bitches.
Oh, yes.
Season 2, I play Pandora, 20-something YouTuber. I am a little baby lesbian in it who has a little bit of a crush on Guinevere Turner's character. Mm-hmm. And then Guinevere Turner and I are actually in a series called Alice and Isa, which will be coming out soon. It's just based on a one-night stand. Which is really, really fun on Tello. Yeah, Guinevere Turner. A lot of fun.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm doing a lot over the past couple months. So I have, on the podcasting front, I have my podcast coming out with Lauren and Nicole, which comes out weekly on Wednesdays. And we interview people, queer people from all walks of life, and tell the tales of how they came out to friends, family, and the world at large. See how that rolls off the tongue? I've said it many times. And it's the opening of our show. It's really wonderful. And we've interviewed Stephanie Beatriz and a bunch of other pretty amazing people. So there's that's on all podcast platforms. I'm also in another podcast that is 180 degrees opposite, and it's a narrative podcast that just came out that came out from the tech giant SAP. It is sci-fi, fantasy, Renaissance nerdy kind of podcast called Searching for Salai, about if Leonardo da Vinci's assistant, Andrea Salai, came back or traveled through time and met this one woman, and it's about their relationship and her trying to debunk his story, and there's a whole bunch of nerdy Renaissance and nerdy tech and science stuff in it, and it's just a beautifully written story, and I get to act in it. So I'm the lead and I narrate the entire thing, and also I'm in all the scenes. So that is total opposite end of the podcasting spectrum, but also on all streaming platforms. Let's see, what else do I have coming up? I shot 2 short films recently that are both about to do festival runs. So one of them is called Other Loving. That is, I play the central character who is a bisexual poly character, and who is dealing with a breakup with a boyfriend and having to come home to her wife and talk about that. So it's stuff that people are not seeing, haven't seen, and are going to feel all kinds of different ways about, I'm sure. But it was a really, really emotional and beautiful project, and it was shot by the cinematographer of This Is Us. So it's got some good people behind it. I also just shot a short film with Melissa Ponzio of Teen Wolf and Walking Dead, and she plays my wife in it, and that was also a really wonderful emotional experience. And I don't have dates for the release of either of these things, because again, it's going to depend on festivals, and there's only so much I can release before they go to festivals. So I have those also in passage. And I just wrapped a musical presentation of a musical called Lesbian Love Octagon, which Mandahla saw. And it's freaking great. And we may or may not be doing a full run of that in Los Angeles and/or touring it. So if we do, I will let everybody know about that. And I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but
yeah, I'm sure
that's.
You mentioned this, Nicole, on the panel, that you had feelings about how important it is for openly queer actors to be playing queer characters. Would you mind going into that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I haven't come down on either side of the debate of whether, people who are not representative of a certain faction should be playing those characters. I mean, I think, we have the conversation about ethnicity, and that to me makes a lot of sense, that if you are not at least part of the ethnicity that you're playing, that seems wrong to me. So I've come down pretty firmly on that side of that debate. I don't think it's really that much of a debate anymore. In terms of LGBTQ characters, it's hard. I have two hearts, two minds about this. As a queer person, I love being able to play queer characters, and I love seeing people who are actually queer portraying that experience, because there's kind of nothing like someone who actually knows to be able to do that. And I love the fan reactions that I see to queer people playing queer characters. It's just really, really exciting and fulfilling. And I think that there's a real power in that there isn't necessarily when heterosexual people, cis people play queer characters. So from like an impact standpoint, I think more queer people playing more queer characters is the way to go. From a purely artistic standpoint, I do like to believe that, you know, as actors, our job is to be able to transform and to be able to embody different people and different experiences, and it's part of how we gain empathy ourselves and how we also loop those who are maybe more closed-minded into things. So artistically speaking, I'm much more open about it, but from a business impact standpoint, I don't know. Those are my two feelings about it. So there you go.
I find it. I think there's a very fine line, because if I can see the straighter world being like, well, if you think that queer people should be playing queer characters, then straight people should only be playing straight characters.
Yeah, it does work opposite.
Exactly. It does, but in saying that, we're more than our sexuality. And I can play a straight person and a queer person, and it's a talent. It's a talent that we should be looking at, not just a sexuality. But again, I really love one of the wonderful things about all of our is that all three of us main characters are actually queer, which you don't, that's kind of rare to see all the leads actually as that. So in saying that, it's pretty heartwarming when queer people do play queer characters, because the straight guys get them all the time. Like, straight people get everything. I mean, you know, don't quote that.
So would you run out of time to one last question?
Yes. Can I? Yeah. Okay. I was at the reading of Passage in Vegas, and I absolutely loved it. And to me, the big question is: does the sci-fi aspect of it bring more difficulty to shooting it?
Didn't make it more difficult for us as actors.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I got a plasma gun and I was pretty happy with it.
Is it going to take more VFX for them and
Yes.
different camera tricks? Yeah. And we definitely were party to that. Like, we could see that happening, but luckily I get to go, bye, figure that out.
And you had one follow-up question?
So would your answer change if I asked you, what about trans actors playing trans characters? Should
Yeah,
that
no,
be
I mean,
different?
I was including trans
Okay.
in my answer. I think that is a little bit more specific. I think now I would really prefer to see trans people playing trans characters. I think that's really important. But, you know, I don't know. I also really hate, though, to start parceling out letters and talking about them and making exceptions for some and not for others, you know, and this is partly me being like sensitive as a bisexual person and kind of wondering like when our revolution is coming, because like, you know, nobody's making any beans about like straight girls playing bisexuals all the time, which is part of why we get the reputation that we do. So, you know, like I'm apt to say, yeah, I'd prefer seeing only trans people, but I think I still stand with what I originally said. Yeah.
I think the exciting thing about that, though, is that if trans people are actually being asked to play trans characters, then it means that there's content out there.
Absolutely.
And it should definitely go to someone who is trans first. I think, at least to get, but then again, you also get trans people who are like, well, no, I don't actually want to do that as well. So I think the fact that this is actually up for discussion, it means that things are changing, which is what is most exciting.
I think overall, I would really prefer that trans people have like just their pick of roles. Whatever they're,
whatever they want.
That's actually just what I would really prefer that they have. You know, I mean, part of this debate is like, shouldn't they be playing trans characters because they've been looked over for so long in the general public? And the answer is yes, but shouldn't they just be playing characters?
They're people.
You know, like one of my favorite teachers I ever had was Alexandra Billings, and so when I first moved to LA, and she is an amazing actress and performer in general, just so captivating. And like, I love that she doesn't only play trans characters. She does obviously play some, but she doesn't always, and she's a member of arguably the best theater company in America. So it's like, you know, I just want her to be able to do whatever the hell she wants and I'll watch it. You know, so.
I saw her in Chicago.
Oh,
So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you.
Abonneer.
Fun.